What's going on, everybody? It is Lane with Mastercrafted here with Phil, as always. Phil, how you doing today?
Great. Got some more games of 40K in this past week. I played 5 games of 40K in a week, and I'm feeling pretty happy with myself because I love playing 40K.
Yeah, it is a great game, and the state of the meta is just looking so much better. And Dakka's on the way out, and that might be part of the reason.
Might be.
Yeah, this weekend was the last weekend that they were going to be run at any tournament, to my knowledge, and we are all thankful for that. Woo! One menace down, just Yanari to go until we are satisfied. Yeah, it's going to be a good mind over meta this week, and it's looking promising for some things that had not been looking so promising, and maybe a little worse for some things that were doing too good. Phil,
Might be.
what do you want to start with?
I want to start with a faction that is underrepresented, doesn't have a lot of players, and I've said it multiple times, and our viewers, you may never have played against this before because it is such a rare faction, but it's Deathwatch. Deathwatch this week had a 61% win rate, had 4 X and O's or X and 1s, and it did have an event win. 16 players played it, and it had 52 wins, so yeah, it had a great week. Part of that, I think, is maybe the Deathwatch players have come out of the woodwork, but I do think it's a very good detachment. It's got some great rules, which is super important, and some built-in abilities that just make them incredibly strong. Seeing Deathwatch back at the top of the table in terms of win rate, I think is pretty good, pretty healthy. I'm not necessarily super concerned with them, but they are definitely underrepresented on a player base. I know a handful of guys that are running it.
Yeah. Yeah, and as well as the next one that's also sprung to the top from the bottom. We talked about them just having the natural enemy being Moar Dakka, just being absolutely horrific matchups for them. Now that that's gone, this and Thousand Suns have both leapt up tremendously in their percentages, being like under 40 a week ago to now being the top 2 for this last weekend, which is crazy.
Yeah, which concerns me slightly for when Thousand Suns get their codex, because they're already good right now, according to the data for this week, that some players were able to find some success with them, and 3 of them were able to go X and O or X and 1. So overall, obviously, a mobility army that has lots of tricks and access to mortal wounds is good. Who would have thought?
Yeah, I do feel like Thousand Suns with Moar Dakka out of the way is one of those where it's like, oh man, I think into Yanari, it does kind of have like an odd matchup where if you can pull off some of those tricks well enough with the extra movement, you can knock out some of those key pieces without, triggering some of their other rules. But yeah, I'm super interested without, I mean, Thousand Suns with Moar Dakka on high, just absolutely awful in general.
Well, the next ones are pretty straightforward. Chaos Demons, they are good. Who would have thought the top 3 factions, Plague Legion, Shadow Legion, Demonic Incursion, all 3 of which have a 50% win rate. Shadow Legion and Plague Legion both had event wins, which is awesome. I know our consistent strategic reserve guest, Bo, would love to see Plague Legion. They like seeing them be successful, but he's a glutton for punishment, so now he's trying to make Blood Legion work. So he cannot make himself happy. He just wants to run it all and prove everybody wrong. So yeah, it's no surprises there that those are the 3 factions that are doing well. Shadow Legion is very good. Demonic Incursion is really solid. And Plague Legion, just if those that haven't watched it yet, you can watch our interview with John Holbrook, who won Beerhammer this past weekend, talked about it significantly. An army that battle shocks you, that can affect your primaries in multiple different ways, can swing the game one way or another. Either you pass all your battle shocks and Plague Legion looks really, really sad, or you fail a bunch of them and they wipe you off the board.
Yeah, Plague Legion is no joke. They actually finally do a battle shock army that does it with enough agency and frequency that you can run it and pilot it very well and really be a pain in the ass. I know, Bo being the demonic hipster, I guess, that he is, he's trying to just stay ahead of the time. I'm sure he's going to get Blood Legion to work, get it up from that 36% win rate and up into the 50s as it should be. Maybe, he's just ahead of the curve, right? He'll figure it out. They'll get some buffs, and then he'll go figure out Scintillating Legion and just keep it.
Have faith.
Yeah.
Bo can do it.
Bo can do it. I have
Yep.
faith.
Yeah. Leagues of Votan is up next in terms of highest performers. They had 4-0 X and ones. Oathbound went 56%, which is so interesting to me. And then 22 players playing it. So it did have a good outing. There was plenty of players playing in it. And overall, it seems to be I know Votan players, they've been crying out for a little bit of help, and I think you will be getting some soon, hopefully. But overall, obviously being able to go 4-0 or 4-1 is a good thing.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what was was it the German player, Polish player that recently just like he's just been on a tear, just
Yes.
playing Oathband, and I think some people are starting to catch on to that. We're seeing those effects. A lot of players are being maybe a little more successful. Maybe he has kind of figured out how to really make that work, and now people are able to kind of follow in his path, which is great. Up next, we got Death Guard. 55% for Flyborn Host and 53% on Plague Company. Even though Flyborn has the higher percentage, it had no X and ones, but Plague Legion had 8 of them. So
Plague Legion is by far the better detachment.
yeah, an interesting stat.
Yeah. It's just got more players, right? If you don't believe me that Plague Company is better, I don't know what to tell you. It is just straight up better. It's not a hot take. It's not a spicy take. It is just straight up better.
The reason the stats are like that, yeah, Flyblown Host had 2 players compared to 44. When you're roughly going to be around 50 some percent and you only have that small of a percentage, don't just look at that line. Look a little farther right, see where your statistics are coming from. Don't just go off of what has the highest percentage. Just wanted to point that out real quick.
Yeah, fair.
Moving on down. Imperial Agents, hot dog. 1 whole X and 1 out of 4 players, killing it. Yeah, good for them. Glad something.
Running something that they enjoy.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to some.
They went X and 1. Okay.
They did. We can move on. We can be happy with those people running Imperial Agents, but their effect on the meta as of right now is not very high. But this next one I think is very interesting. Necrons have consistently been an army that we constantly have to worry about. They always have something up their sleeve, I would say. And as a whole, they're actually doing very, very well. Out of their 5 detachments that they have access to, 3 of them have a 50% win rate or above. And then one of them has a 47% win rate, which means that they are running it to success. They have a good amount of players with 54 total participating this past week, and it shows. They have multiple X and O, X and ones across the board. Star Shatter is still strong. Awakened Dynasty is great, and I would probably rate that a little bit higher. They do have an event win, which says about the health of the detachment as a whole. So obviously Necrons is still good. I know a few guys on our team speak about them very highly, and John talked about that, Warrior Brick that is unkillable with multiple characters stacked inside it. So obviously there's a lot of value there, and I like them being a part of the meta. I think they provide a important part to kind of like keep everything nice and balanced. Because if you can't kill a brick of warriors, right, it puts you in a tough spot.
Yeah, it is nice to see. Some of them aren't quite as represented. 3 for Canoptic, 9 for Hypercrypt, but still decent play, still decent win rates. It's good to see at least some decent distribution as well as good rates across the faction.
Yeah.
Sure. And then we'll go into the next one, which doesn't have quite the distribution between all of its detachments, which is Eldari. And it has basically half of their players playing Devoted of Iniad. Who would have thought?
Almost like we talked about this when we did the Codex review, and we talked about Devoted to Iniad with our good friend Nick, who is still running it to some pretty extreme success. And yeah, no surprises. They only got 1 event win, but they had 12 X and O, X and ones. And I know many of those were just going straight up undefeated. So it is a very good army. Very good. You have to know what this army does playing into it, or else you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, it is spicy. Of their 8 event wins, Devoted has 7 of them in the last 4 weeks. No surprise there. The only other one that's getting a lot of play is Aspect Host with a quarter of their player base, and it's only running at 43% win rates.
It's getting scary.
Nothing compares, when you can just take Devoted. So we'll see. I'm curious if the shift does happen and it gets toned down a little bit, how many of these hyper just top tier players playing Devoted get bumped down. I still think even if it just gets touched a little and brought down, it just has so much skill expression in that specific detachment compared to some of the others that I still think top players are going to keep playing it as long as it does not get the Legion of Excess treatment. I think it's still probably the best way to play Eldar.
Yeah,
Just
no, I would agree.
loved into the ground.
Correct. And honestly, if I was running Eldar, this is what I'd be running because I just think it does everything well. Super high skill expression. You have to be able to play it well, but holy crap, when you put it in the hands of a good player, obviously it shows.
Yeah, very good. Moving on down, we have Gene Stealer Cult, and Final Day only has one player. Phil, you gotta get those stats back up. Help the faction out.
I know. I haven't been playing them, and look what happens now. Nobody's going 4-0, 5-0, and 5-1. So yes, the final day, the cult are making a return for sure. I'm probably taking them to a couple RTTs we have coming up, and then there's potential for taking them in teams as well. But we'll see. I don't want to give away any secrets yet. You'll see when those lists come out of what I'm going to take. But I do want to point out one or woman decided to take Biosanctic. They tried to harken back to some very dominant times for Gene Stealer Cult and took it to an event win. So they were able to go out and win with Biosanctic Brood Surge, which I think is just shove a bunch of aberrants in your face. And can you kill a bunch of aberrants? No. Guess what? I've won the game now. Host of Ascension, still no surprises there. Gets another event win. Gene Stealer Cult as a whole, it's good to see that we have 50 players playing the armies. It does say that there is a relative positive outlook on the detachment because I will say Gene Stealer Cult players, it's one of those armies that if it's not good, everyone just runs away from it. So we do have still good detachments. If you are looking at playing Gene Stealer Cult and you want some recommendations, host, I wouldn't recommend if I'm honest. I would 120 neophytes, one, painting them all up, and two, building them for them to just like no longer be a thing anymore sounds miserable. Final Day is fun if you have Tyranids already and you're like, oh, I want to play some GSC. I like Final Day a lot. I think it's a good detachment. And then you could just collect some of the cool units. So Biosanctic is obviously still solid. I've still run it multiple times and it is still good. Probably just stay away from Brood Brothers. If I'm honest, it needs some help if we're going to run some auxiliary units. But overall, I'm liking Gene Stealer Cult. They are still incredibly solid. They have play in singles. They have play in teams. I like to see it.
Yeah. Up next, the Golden Boys themselves, the ones you've been working on the most lately, and they're finally showing some data here. Lions actually up to 49% win rate with 8 X and O or X and ones and an event win. Holy cow! Are they finally coming to bear? They're gonna be in the meta. And I think it's still going to keep climbing over the next few weeks.
It will, definitely. You're going to see them more and more often. They're going to be a staple, if not very strong in teams where people are going to want to run them because they make some people horrendously bad matchups. Like I'm talking like you do not want to see it. It is bad. You are going to give up a lot of points and they're just so incredibly tough. Lions is very, 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 very good. And if you haven't played into it and you want to get some reps, I strongly recommend it because the detachment as a whole is incredibly solid. Yeah. But then all our detachments are good. I would be totally okay running Talons. I'd be totally okay running Shield Host. I know even Solar Spearhead still has a lot of play, even after the points hike. So yeah, Custodes right now in a fantastic place. The +1 to wound, if I take off my golden sunglasses for a second, is probably a little too strong. A little too strong, especially it means you're wounding. Like I wound great on clean wounds on 4s. That probably shouldn't be happening. I probably should not be doing that. But I am, so here we are.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It is definitely pretty good. It is kind of that interesting interaction where armies can just have a flat +1 to wound, and as long as they're not stronger than something is tough that has the -1 to wound, it really just counters the point of those units in the general meta very, very well.
Correct. Yeah. Oh, it's so interesting.
Oh man, that sounds like everybody else, but they're just using strength 14 to still end up wounding on 4s, you know?
Correct. He's only toughness 13. He's toughness 13.
Okay. I guess it's only in Shadow Legion where he's -1 to wound is what I'm
correct
at. But yes.
Oh yeah, sure.
Brutal for most players. Yeah, but it is great.
Next,
rocking a nice even
win
percentage, and then we go into the next one, Orcs, which is all over the board with their detachment win percentages.
Yeah.
my God.
The one guy running Cult of Speed, bringing down the win percentage for everyone. But you know what? If I was to say a detachment I think is the most fun, it's definitely Cult of Speed, because I love the vehicles. I love like the shock chump dragsters and all of those models. Like, they're so cool. I wish that detachment was good, but overall it is definitely struggling. But if you were to take that one away, all of these other detachments are doing well.
Yeah, it has an 83% spread between its top faction and its bottom. And there's only one player playing each of those two things. And it was Cult of Speed on the bottom going 0-5 and Green Tide going 5-1 with an 83% win percentage. Great job, sir. Very well done. And then bumping out Moar Dakka as the best detachment for this week on win percentage alone. It doesn't
Just
make
close your eyes.
the 9 X and 1s or X and O's that Moar Dakka still had while it was banned from half of the tournaments, still managed to get 9 out of 17 players. Over half of the players who played it went X and O or X and 1 this weekend. Good riddance. Glad this was the last week that you got to do that. See you next time. The GW
Exactly.
decides to make orcs busted, but it's okay.
It has brought a health to the meta that we've already seen an uptick in. Like Death Watch, Thousand Suns, Custodies coming up, like all of those things will continue to happen, and it is, I genuinely believe, a good thing. All right, the Ultramarines, the Smurfs, who would have guessed it? Ironstorm is still good. Stormlance is still good. A Vanguard ran by quite a few of our individuals here in Denver. Still very good. Gladius has one of the highest player bases, and they do have 8 4-0 X and 1s. I don't know what there's to say about it. Space Marines are good. Who would have thought? Reroll all hits and +1 to wound is good.
Yeah, Gladius representing over half of the detachments played out of the vanilla Space Marines is, we talked about it with Jason when we were kind of starting the channel. Like, it is just kind of a great skill floor and skill ceiling way to play it. And as you just get better, it's going to do well. And I think a lot of people are just sticking with it. It's doing great. Can't complain.
Yeah, for sure. Well, moving right along, Tyranids also doing well. Invasion Fleet getting their only event win, but they have 29 players playing it, and they have almost 50 players in the total pool. Crusher Stampede is the one that's struggling the most, but I know that there's some lists out there with multiple Mel Scepters and multiple El Schnorns and that are getting thrown around in our I am quite scared of those because that's a pretty high stat check, so we'll see how those do. But overall, there is value here. The value seems to be centered around Invasion Fleet, though.
Yeah, and I think that is our last 50 percentager, and we're dropping down we're now averaging lower than half with Chaos Space Marines, and they are including Emperor's Children in this for this week still, since it is not technically live, but some TOs are allowing it. But yeah, Creations of Bile still rocking it out with about a third of the player base, but only about a 44% win percentage and 1 event win and 1 X and O, and that was John, who we just had on, who won Beer Hammer. So
I mean,
it can
what else?
be done.
Yeah. I like Creations of Bile. I think it's very good. John is very high on Emperor's Children. He'll have to prove it to me because I haven't seen anything yet that astounds me in terms of like them dominating the meta. But he is right. And it's something that we talked about with Matt and Frank. When an army can advance in charge and fall back in charge and do whatever it wants, there's going to be something there. There is value there. We just got to figure out, what that final list looks like and how good that's going to be, because there is, like you said, there is value. And then the skewiest of skew, Chaos Knights, 13 dogs or some less dogs and demons, whatever it is you want to run. 6 X and O X and 1s, 29 players playing it. You and Imperial Knights running also a obnoxious amount of dogs and or I can't even remember the name of them. What's the name of the little knights? Armigers. Yes, thank you. You just run a ton of those. You run Canis Rex or Chaos Knights, you run demons, and who would have thought? It's good. But Imperial Knights got the event win, so they must be better.
They must be. Yep. They're even at 48%. We all know they're the ones who got got the additional event win that the Chaos Knights didn't. But they can beat each other up and be big annoying stat checks with each other, and not something we have to worry about. Hopefully. Moving it on down, Space Wolves, Stormlance still doing well, 61% for that. Only 6 players running it though. No event wins, and 1 of the 5 did take it X and O, or X and 1 at least. So hell yeah.
I mean, seems good. Grey Knights also up. their percentage has raised. They're now 46%. They have 3 X and O, X and 1s. Both detachments seeing some success and capability of going X and O and X and 1, which is good. And I do think that they will continue to rise now that Moar Dakka is potentially on the way out. I do think that's one of the armies that's going to benefit because the footprint of Moar Dakka just really, really messed with them. And with an army that has to be deep strike 9-inch away, you pop the truck, boys get out, kill your Nemesis Dread Knight, and then now you have nothing, and they are just fine. That was definitely rough for Grey Knights. I don't necessarily love that matchup, but now that they're gone, I think we're going to see an increase here.
Yep. Yeah. Also moving up in the world, Tau up to 46% from 44 as of last week, and it makes sense. Another shooty army that is benefiting from not shooting across the board at orcs. Only Inari to worry about now.
Yeah. And I will say, auxiliary cadre, it's the best attachment. If I was going to run Tau, I want Crude Hounds, I want Crude Oxes. Like, I love those models; are so cool. And that kind of mix of like alien factions kind of helping out each other is very Tau. So yeah, they've done well, and they have a good player pool. 60 players playing it this past weekend. So not auxiliary cadre, but the faction as a whole. So still quite a bit of value there. Now, world leaders. They're up next. I don't know if the new infiltrating gore units have been included in all of these as, people building them or hobbying them or them just not being live at that tournament. But once again, I think we will see this raise. We're going to see them go up. They already have a huge player pool of 50 players with only 2 detachments, which I know is going to hit some of our world leader players right in the nails, right? Like of getting a little angry with the fact that they only have 2 detachments while some others have quite a few more. But you can take solace in the fact that you did have an event win. You can take solace in the fact that you've been given another unit and you will get one more character for your world leaders and a detachment soon. So they are coming. They've got an event win. They are only going to get better with Moar Dakka being gone.
Yeah. Shortly behind them is another melee army of Blood Angels, also right in that same percentage. Angelic Host, only one player went 3-5, or 3-2, apologies, and decent showing. Most people playing Liberator Assault Group though, and 3 X and O's out of 35 players. Pretty good.
I mean, it's not Bloodless Angels anymore, which is kind of nice, but Liberator Assault Group is good. You can run Space Wolves as that. You could do... no, you can't. Sorry. My apologies. But Blood Angels as that is still solid. I don't know. If you're going to run Space Marines, are you going to run these or are you going to run Space Wolves? I think the majority of people will probably swap to Space Wolves, especially with the new codex coming out.
Yep. Can't blame them. Next up, we got Dark Angels, 22 players running 45% on this weekend. Pretty decent spread between all the detachments. The big one's still just being Gladius, though. I mean, if you're running Deathwing Knights, you need some way to advance in charge.
Yeah.
I think Gladius still just has so many tools. The way to go. And
Yeah,
with that,
it does everything well.
So pretty close to that 50-50. Inner Circle, 60% win rate, but only one player. But, it's kind of hard to really give stock to any of these other. I mean, 3 players is the most they had for Stormlance even, and that went 35%. So,
yeah.
Not a ton of data.
I mean, they have great models.
Running with much Dark Angel.
Yeah. I mean,
and then
Space Marines are Space Marines, but unfortunately, it just means that that Gladius as a whole, if you're going to run Gladius, it's just better in Ultramarines. It is, unfortunately. And if you're going to take it, you are kind of hamstringing yourself. But not to say that Dark Angels as a whole, with their unique units, with their Terminators and all those things, still have access to good Space Marine data sheets. And they are good. Gladiuses, Lancers, Reapers, they're all just good. It makes sense. But Asher Tarm is next. Your boys, they're at 40%. Lane, what happened?
Of the weekend, dude. I strongly do not know how we are down here. I really don't. I think Guard is in a very good place. I was reading and even engaging on Reddit this weekend. I try not to, but I fell. I got on Reddit and I was talking and stuff. But generally, Guard players don't want to run combined or they want to run something different. The biggest problem is the best thing is the same thing that was good in Guard before Grotness. We had a whole new book, all multiple new units, and the same base format for being competitive in 40K is running combined regiment with 4-ish good tanks. Take your pick. You maybe more if you're running lots of Lehman Russes, but Dorn commanders are too good. 2 Dorn commanders, a regular Dorn and an exterminator, can put out insane firepower. I took it to the GT this last weekend. I picked up an Orion dropship and a Telemon in a turn. Same thing playing against World Eaters, Angron, and a Lord of Skulls, and like another couple units. Like they're nothing. Like it still has insane output, tons of damage 3 into all Marines. Like it's just still the best way to play guard. And I know people are trying to make these others work, and you can. And there's definitely still skill expression. I think in Hammer of the Emperor and probably Recon, you can kind of get away with it. It's doing decent as well. But like combined is the best way to play. I will die on this hill that the other stuff just doesn't do it. You run into anything tanky, you start running into Shadow Legion with -1 to wound and all these other things, and it just you need lethals. Lethals is imperative to how many greater demons you are going to be seeing in the meta. Like they have 4 up, or even some have 3 up for Khorne. You just need to make them make saves. Like number of shots greatly matters, and lethals on top of it is the only way to deal with some of those armies. But it is what it is. I'll close out my rant. It is like guard. The fact that combined itself is 42 is interesting to me. Yeah.
Okay, well, we're gonna put these last ones in 2 separate groups because they are significantly different. You got Sisters, AdMech, Black Templars are one group. Armies that are, I would say, still struggling. Hollow Martyrs did get an X and O. Or X and 1. So did AdMech. They had 1 X and O and X and 1 with the Halo's Creed Battle Clade, which is the new Grotmus detachment. But Black Templars had none. So the 3 of those detachments definitely struggling. They are showing a little bit of life with the one singular X and O X and 1 with 1 player bringing him to success. But then in the other group, it's Drakari. It's Reaper's Wager. He had 2 lunatics take it and win 2 events with it. Out of 10 players, 2 out of 10 won events with Reaper's Wager. Scary would be proud. Nick would be proud to see Reaper's Wager doing well because it is a fun detachment. I've played into it multiple times before Nick swapped over to Stupid Yanari. Wish he'd go back. I'll take Reaper's Wager any day over what I'm facing now. But, little column A, little column B. And then Sky Splinter and Real Space have in the single digits for players. But I am told over and over again that Sky Splinter is still very, very good. And watching Scary play it on stream, no surprises there.
Yeah, 26% win rate out for those 7 players combined, though, does make that statement hard to back up. So hopefully some of you Yanari players go back to playing your Sky Splinter and get that back up. We 100% support that decision.
Yeah, but I have a sneaking suspicion they are not gonna do that for us. They will stay with Yanari because, understandably so, that is a freaking good army.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Well, any other takeaways from this week in 40K mind over meta?
The losses to Moar Dakka are already showing, like them already being gone. We are already seeing a percentage raise. We will continue to see a percentage raise. And I do like seeing the amount of diversity we have in our meta right now. Like, yes, we kind of trashed on those last 3 detachments, Sisters, AdMech, and Black Templar. But as you noticed, as we went down, every single one of them has been doing well. They have value somewhere in one of the detachments in terms of what we're doing. And for those that haven't been playing competitive 40K for very long, I will tell you that is a luxury to have. There were times where if you didn't have the hot army, in the building, you were never going to win. There was no skill expression you could do to get a win. You were always going to be behind the 8 ball. But now you have so many detachments, so many armies doing well. It is great to see. I love it.
Yeah, generally the meta is pretty well within those brackets of 45 to 55 in general. And obviously this week we were looking at just this last weekend over a longer span of time. It's going to balance out for some of these under and overperforming factions a little bit as well.
Yeah, for sure. No, super pleased. And then for those that aren't aware, we're getting ready for a team tournament, but we have a RTT at the end of April down here in the Springs, which we have people coming from all over the state or out of state coming to this tournament. So that's going to be awesome. I can't wait. And then we got the team tournament right after that. And we got some really, really good games of 40K coming up.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Always happy to come down, see the cluckers in their natural habitat down in the Springs. Great time. Going to be fun. 40K summer is upon us. Going to have tons of good games with good bros all around the country. we're gonna do our best to share them with you guys as well. Yeah, but make sure you come back here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We will catch you guys next time. Thanks for tuning into Mind Over Meta this week, and don't forget that victory isn't given, it's forged, and it's forged right here on Mastercrafted. See y'all next time.